This is the FM Gold channel of All India Radio. In the program News Analysis, now we bring you a discussion on development projects in Varanasi. The participants are Shekhar Iyer, political analyst, and KV Prasad, journalist.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi today launched various development projects which were worth over rupees 550 crore in Varanasi, the Lok Sabha constituency he represents. The Prime Minister in his public address did mention that landscape of the city had undergone a change and changed for good in the last 4 years, and a lot of development activity was being seen and witnessed. And he of course said that earlier the city was left to the mercy of lords under the previous regimes. Shekhar, some of the projects that were cleared or included for inauguration today was the Integrated Power Development Scheme for Purani Kashi, that old Kashi city, Atal Incubation at the Banaras Hindu University, and of course a foundation stone was laid for the Regional Ophthalmological Center at the Banaras Hindu University. Now all these schemes do touch upon various development aspects, and if you look at some of the basic schemes like the Purana Kashi development, it's an old city, obviously there are a lot of attendant problems, but first and foremost an overview of what the Prime Minister unveiled today.
The Prime Minister has been talking of a new Kashi as part of a new India, where Kashi is considered to be one of the oldest living city in the world, and it is known from the ancient time through the medieval period and to modern Kashi. And by itself, Kashi is a challenge for any city planner in terms of population, in terms of congestion in old parts of Kashi, and the biggest thing that has always been a challenge is the treatment of sewage that goes into the Ganga, and then widening of roads, because it's an old city. You have buildings on both sides, the widening of roads, then construction of a ring road, and overall improving the quality of public hygiene in that city, which has been a big challenge. So we have seen the Prime Minister almost making at least 3-4 trips a year to Varanasi, which is his Lok Sabha constituency, and addressing the people as a member of that constituency. Because today also Prime Minister said, I have come here to give an account of what has happened in the last 3-4 years, what is the vision, what we are doing, and I am accountable to the expenditure that has taken place in the city, in a way of trying to bring before the people what all heads money has been sent and what is the result. Because some people have felt that already there is improvement in terms of general cleanliness at places like Assi Ghat, which is very famous, Dashmed Ghat, and there are other places. But the challenge is so stupendous. Banaras is not a problem that can be sorted out in 3-4 years. Even as a Lok Sabha constituency, it is more of the municipal challenges of Banaras, the city, which is before the Prime Minister. He is the Prime Minister, but he is also a Member of Parliament representing Banaras. So the Prime Minister has made it a point whenever possible, like he had gone there in March when the French President was here. They even underwent a boat ride to give the message that how things are being improved in Banaras. And already Banaras and Kyoto in Japan, they are supposed to be sister cities, Kashi Kyoto. And people do ask, when will Banaras become Kyoto? The question they ask.
Shekhar, I think what you said is also very interesting, but one of course needs to say, as you pointed out, Banaras is an ancient city, it has historical, and it's a place of reverence for people. It's a pilgrimage town, and I think never a day passes when you don't see busloads of people arriving at Banaras or by train or even by modern communication by flights. That of course remains a challenge because every day thousands of people come to take a dip in the river Ganges. That having been said, I think what you mentioned about the ring road project, the Prime Minister today mentioned that the particular file relating to the laying of ring road was gathering dust before 2014. And the previous government did not allow the project to gather pace as it was feared that if work was done, Prime Minister Modi will obviously be eulogized. But the fact remains, as Member of Parliament and having committed to improve the connectivity in the city, and you mentioned it's a congested city, the ring road of course connects to the modern parts of the city, including the airports and other areas. Development has to take place at an even pace, and even when you mentioned the fact that it's also a municipal challenge. Now for a long time, it all depends. You have a different government at center, a different government at the state, and the municipal is held by a party of a different. So we've seen this tug of war going around many a time in many places. But now that you have a government of BJP in UP and of course at the center, I think things have picked up pace.
Yeah, because the number of projects that have been signed since 2014 when the Modi ji got elected from Banaras as representative of that constituency, we have seen a lot of attention being paid to that city. Varanasi is not just about Kashi or about the Banaras city. Actually, it is a nodal or nerve center of Purvanchal, which is the eastern UP and parts of Bihar, and you have little up, you have Nepal. So it is at a very pivotal place. And the potential of that region has not been fully tapped for so many years, because for any region to be tapped, you need good connectivity. So we have seen this government coming with how to improve connectivity by way of roads, not just ring road around the city, but also major highways that can be expanded, that can be improved, and new connections given. That is in terms of highways. Then you have railways. Now you have seen that a number of trains are running from Kashi to different parts of. They were running earlier too, but new trains have been introduced, new connections have been possible. Then the third important part is the waterway, which the Surface Transport Ministry and Nitin Gadkari ji has been trying to see if people can actually use the waterway, that Ganga as a waterway, to say go up to Patna and further down to even if it's possible, one can even go up to say Kolkata, if it is finally made fully navigable. So these are big projects, and also the region presents potential in terms of tourism, because Banaras or Varanasi is highly revered not just by the Hindus, it's also the important Moksha Kshetra. People consider it a place where one gets salvation. So it's an important place for Buddhism. And because Sarnath is not very far off, you see, it's very close by. So you have a lot of foreign tourists, you have of course you have domestic tourists, and you also have people who feel that if they breathe their last in Kashi, they get salvation. So with so much of belief and faith associated with the city, obviously you need to create that kind of infrastructure. That infrastructure was there during earlier times, but that infrastructure is no longer able to cope the influx of tourists and influx of pilgrims. You have tourists one hand who want to enjoy the beautiful sunset or sunrise on the Ganges, or see the beautiful Aarati on the banks of the river, or just go on a plain boat ride, because that place reverberates with a kind of energy and a kind of a sense of what one can describe as a complete experience. An experience which people get when they get to see the Mansarovar Lake in Tibet, or when they get to go to Kanyakumari and where they see a Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea merged with the Indian Ocean. Now, these are places which has huge tourist potential, but infrastructure has not been adequately able to keep pace. So the Prime Minister today particularly talked about that Banaras can become a gateway to Bengal, Bihar, Nepal, so many things. And
eastern part of the India, and of course further up.
There is, in terms of potential, there is a lot to be tapped. But Varanasi has not been getting the attention it needed, because UP itself, Varanasi is at one end, that is Eastern UP. And Eastern UP, if you take as a whole, is a place which has not developed in keeping in pace, with Western UP or even Awadh area. So therefore, there is a huge potential, and all these projects that have started in the 3-4 years, they would require some more years to be completed, particularly the sewage treatment plants. In fact, they are proposing to have at least 4-5 sewage treatment plants along Banaras river front, so that you can see that sewerage from the city does not just come into fall in the river, so that there can be plants at different places to handle the sewerage treatment and treatment of water, because the whole idea is to increase the oxygen carrying capacity of the river. Of course, Clean Ganga project has started was right from the Rajiv Gandhi's time, but the general perception is that so much of money has gone down the river that finally, when do we get to see the river in its pristine glory that it was? So you have a project, the project has been rechristened and given more funds, given more push under Namami Gange, and of which Banaras is a very important component. Therefore, this visit we can see the Prime Minister actually, he was today outlining, in fact, what all has been done, what is proposed to be done, and what is in the future. And Prime Minister said that I am come here as a Member of Parliament, and I am here to give you full account. Means I will account for every paise that has been spent there.
And of course, what you said is significant. And Namami Gange is a huge project that starts from the foothills of Gangotri, where the origins of river, and then goes right up to Kashi and further down. The fact is, effluent treatment plants and all that are positions that the governments have taken. One more thing, as you mentioned, the integrated power development scheme. I think the Prime Minister today mentioned that today a large portion of the city has been rid of such wires. And he said, before becoming an MP, when I used to visit Banaras, I used to wonder when will this city be freed from the mesh of entangled electricity wires hanging over it. And of course, a large portion has now gone with the underground laying cables, which is going at a fast pace. Now, this is very interesting, because this is something most old cities in the country would be facing. The entangled wires coming up and down, and not only are they hazards in terms of an accident, but also can cause a lot more damage than people can even imagine.
The Banaras as a city developed much before electricity came. So you already had a living, throbbing city. So electricity came later. So the way the electricity has been provided is in terms of overhead wires. And if you were to go near even the Kashi Vishwanath temple, you can just see that there is a maze of electricity cables which are gradually being removed, and the effort is to make an underground cable. Apart from that, Eastern UP particularly has a history of having inadequate power supply. Power cuts have been very frequent earlier, and in fact that was one of the big election issues during the last assembly polls. So the whole idea to see that how Banaras can have 24/7 electric supply, wherever needed transformers may be set up, and then to have its own power plants wherever possible, and also tap on the solar energy, because after all Eastern UP gets a lot of sunshine. So there is a huge scope for having solar panels, and there are so many ways in which you can, make the city more, the quality of life in Banaras particularly. And there are so many people coming. In terms of population pressure, one, you have the city itself is growing in population. Over and above, you have a floating population. So there is a tremendous pressure on everything, whether it is housing, whether it is water supply, whether it is sanitation. So there is a huge pressure, and those pressures will have to be tackled in terms of very, very specific project. And I think the other dimension which the Prime Minister was talking, because since he inaugurated a cancer and a super specialty hospital, Prime Minister talked that Banaras can become a hub for medical tourism. I mean, less people come to Delhi, or they go to Chandigarh, or they go to Bangalore or Chennai or Hyderabad. Why not Banaras can develop as a hub into super specialty quality medical care and medical facilities? And not just in terms of getting other people to go there and undergo treatment, but also in terms of the medical facilities there itself has been not very up to the mark, excepting, of course, you have the biggest hospital in BHU, which is one of the oldest hospital, which has got very trained doctors. But the idea is to create more super specialty hospitals in and around Banaras, so that particularly for Purvanchal people, they don't have to, many people, whether it is from Bihar or even from Azamgarh or say from other parts, they come to Banaras for treatment. So the whole idea is, in terms, provide the medical infrastructure also.
The Regional Ophthalmological Center at BHU is also an extension of what you're talking, because ophthalmology again, highly specialized, and the kind of people again, if you see otherwise, as you say, rightly pointed out, travel all the way to Delhi, to one of the prestigious hospitals in the country, whether it is All India Institute or the Rajendra Prasad Ophthalmological Center. And as I say, if you kind of diffuse these kind of high quality medical care, facilities run by governments, where people have a lot of faith, because one, they're available at an affordable cost. And then, of course, if you combine it with the national healthcare policy that has been unveiled, I think all this falls into a place.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's Ayushman Bharat, one of the biggest health insurance schemes, that requires availability of facilities at district level, because so that people do not have to run to big cities and healthcare centers. And the whole idea is things should be available at the district level, so that people within that district can just go there. Of course, you will have primary healthcare centers in Gram Panchayat level. But at the district level, there should be multi-speciality hospital, which is part of that Ayushman Bharat scheme, where families will be insured against major ailments.
I think what you mentioned very significant is Prime Minister said when he came to give Pai Pai Ka Hisab, that means he is going to tell how he spent the money for the welfare of the people and his own constituents, which I think is a very ideal situation where a member of parliament goes back to the people who voted for him.
He visited some schools. And yesterday you saw him interact with the school children, where children asked him a number of questions. And of course, the one question that got reported was about fear, whether the Prime Minister fears anything. And of course, in his characteristic style, the Prime Minister mentioned that no one should ever fear anything. And there is a lot to be done. Everybody has the potential. One should work towards that potential.
Thank you, Shekhar, for that very elaborate and succinct way in which you encapsulated the Prime Minister's visit to Banaras and development of the city for his constituents. Thank you.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on development projects in Varanasi. The participants were Shekhar Iyer, political analyst, and K.V. Prasad, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. This program is also available on the website news.air.nic.in. You may email opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.